You know, after years of grinding away as an environmental engineer in the city dealing with endless deadlines, polluted sites, and bosses who cared more about profits than the planet, I finally said enough is enough. I craved some real peace, the kind where you wake up to birds chirping instead of traffic horns. So I scraped together my savings and bought this beautiful 10-acre plot out in rural Virginia, tucked away with thick forests, a crystal-clear stream winding through it, and this old dirt road that led right to my doorstep. The deed was rock solid, metes and bounds all laid out, giving me full ownership including the water rights, and that row had no ambiguities, no shared access nonsense, and for a couple of years, it was bliss, building my little cabin, hiking the woods, just me and the quiet, finally breathing easy after all that chaos. But then, one crisp fall morning, this woman pulls up in a shiny SUV, steps out in these designer boots that screamed city slicker, and introduces herself as Victoria Hale, a big-shot developer turning the land next door into what she called Riverside Estates, this fancy gated community for folks escaping the suburbs. She smiles all sweet-like, chats about how great it'll be for the area, and casually mentions she'll need to use my road and tap into the stream for her project. Assumes it's a done deal, like I'm just some bumpkin who'd roll over. I politely shut that down, told her no way, this is my property, but something in her eyes flashed, a mix of surprise and that predatory gleam you see in sharks on those nature docks, and right then I knew trouble was brewing. Things escalated quick. Her construction crews started rumbling down my road without asking, churning up mud, even diverting a bit of my stream for their drainage. And then came the kicker. She throws this grand opening bash right on the edge of my land, tents and all, and in her speech to the crowd, she straight up claims the road's shared, part of some old easement she discovered. I was fuming, standing there in the shadows watching her work the room, but I kept my cool, consulted my lawyer buddy Tom back in the city who confirmed my deed was airtight and started documenting everything, photos, timestamps, because deep down, I felt this wasn't just about land. It was her greed clashing with my hard-won sanctuary, years of her type bulldozing through lives like mine without a second thought. So, I decided to push back, bought this sturdy metal gate from the hardware store, painted private property, no trespassing in big bold letters, and installed it at the road's entrance, feeling a rush of empowerment as I locked it shut, like I was finally drawing a line in the sand. For a day or two, it worked. Trucks turned around, and I sat on my porch with a coffee, thinking maybe that's that, but oh man, was I wrong. Victoria didn't take it lying down. She rallied her connections in the local HOA she'd set up for her development, twisted some city ordinances to call my gate an unlawful obstruction, and slapped me with a $3,000 fine, claiming it blocked emergency access or some bull like that. Then came the emails, forged ones, mind you, made to look like I'd agreed to share the road back when we first met, and a cease and desist letter threatening a lawsuit if I didn't stop interfering with progress. I stared at that email for hours, heart pounding, realizing this wasn't just intrusion, it was outright fraud, her way of steamrolling anyone in her path, probably born from years of getting away with it in bigger deals, where money talked louder than truth. But digging deeper into my deed, I found gold. Not only the road, but full riparian rights to the stream, something her surveys must have missed in their rush, meaning she couldn't touch a drop without my say-so. That lit a fire in me, shifting from defense to something fiercer. That's when Sarah entered the picture, this single mom who'd bought into Riverside Estates dreaming of a fresh start after a messy divorce, only to find her new home flooding every rain because Victoria had skimped on proper drainage, knowing full well the stream issues, but hiding it to close sales. We met at the local diner, me venting over pie, her overhearing and sliding into the booth with tears in her eyes, sharing how Victoria had promised paradise but delivered headaches, even admitting in a heated phone call that she knew about the water problems, but buyers should do their homework. Sarah had recorded it, sneaky but smart, and as she played it back on her phone, her voice cracking, I felt this surge of empathy. Here was a woman fighting for her kid's future, duped by the same greed, and I promised her we'd team up, turning my solitary battle into one for the 120 families she'd roped in, because if I walked away now, what kind of man would that make me? Victoria must have sensed the tide turning, because next thing, I catch these shady guys on my trail cam dumping barrels of what looked like industrial waste into the stream late one night, toxic stuff, probably to poison it, and pin the blame on me. Make me look like the villain blocking her eco-friendly project. I grabbed my phone, recorded the whole thing from the bushes, heart racing like in those thriller movies, and when I confronted them later through my lawyer, they sang like canaries, confessing Victoria hired them to sabotage me, her desperation peaking from years of unchecked ambition finally hitting a wall. Armed with that video, Sarah's recording, the forged emails, and my ironclad deed, I went on the offensive, reported it all to the authorities, the EPA, even leaked bits to a local reporter who turned it into a scandal. Developers' dirty tricks exposed. But the real move? I compiled everything onto flash drives, deeds, videos, transcripts, and mailed them to every resident with a letter explaining how Victoria had lied, manipulated, and now endangered us all, urging them to wake up before it was too late. The backlash was epic. Folks started buzzing on neighborhood apps, forming their own group, hiring a class action lawyer, demanding refunds, accountability, even picketing her office with signs like "Victoria's Victims Unite." It all built to this chaotic climax. I installed a massive wrought iron gate this time, custom-made with spikes and a huge sign saying "Road Closed, Direct Inquiries to Victoria Hale at Riverside Estates," symbolically slamming the door on her schemes. Residents woke up to find themselves cut off, their shiny new homes isolated, and the anger boiled over, not at me, but at her. Cars honking, people yelling outside her sales trailer, "You lied to us," while cops swarmed in to investigate the poisoning. The trial was straight out of a courtroom drama. Sarah took the stand first, playing that recording where Victoria sneers. "Yeah, the stream's iffy, but that's their problem now," her voice dripping with arrogance, and the jury's faces hardened. Then me, laying out the deed like a map to buried treasure, showing the videos of the dumpers creeping in the dark, the forged email with its sloppy timestamps. Victoria tried to play the victim, weeping dramatically. "He's just a bitter loner sabotaging my dream." But it crumbled when her own ex-lawyer's email surfaced, warning her the fraud would catch up. The verdict hit like thunder: guilty on fraud, environmental violations, the works. She had to pay millions in damages, fines, restitution to those families, bankrupting her empire, leaving her disgraced, slinking away to who knows where. In the aftermath, I let the residents buy symbolic access passes for a small fee, enough to maintain the road, foster some real community without the lies, and things settled, my cabin peaceful again. But man, reflecting on it all, I realized peace isn't just handed to you. Sometimes you gotta fight tooth and nail against folks like her, whose greed stems from a void they can't fill any other way. Yet, here's the thing that still nags at me: did I go too far, cutting them off like that, even if it exposed the truth? Or was it the only way to shake people awake? What about you? Have you ever dealt with a neighbor or boss pulling strings like this, manipulating the system for their gain? Drop a comment below. Tell me what you'd do in my shoes, whether justice like this feels sweet or bittersweet, or share your own community clash stories. Who knows? Maybe it'll help someone else stand their ground. And if this hit home, hit that like button, subscribe for more real talk tales. Thanks for listening, folks.